Azure Virtual Desktop for hybrid workloads is in public preview, and now you can run session hosts on premises or in your own private cloud. In this video, I'll show you how it works. Hey everyone, I'm Travis and welcome back to Seraltos. There was some big news from Microsoft recently. We can now run Azure Virtual Desktop session hosts outside of Azure, on premises or in a private cloud, while still using the AVD control plane. In this video, I'll explain how AVD Hybrid works and then walk through setting it up step by step. And a quick note, when I originally created this video, my understanding was other commercial clouds were supported. I've since learned that is not the case and updated this video to reflect that. Before we dive in, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any new content. Also, check out my courses using the links below. And a big thanks to my channel members. Your support is appreciated. All right, back to it. As I mentioned, AVD for hybrid workloads lets us use computers outside of Azure as session hosts. So why is this a big deal? Well, some organizations already have a large on-premises VDI footprint. Maybe that VDI platform renewal came in way higher than expected. With AVD Hybrid, that organization can continue to use existing hardware and move to the cloud when they're ready. Another use case is latency. If your users rely on an on-premises application and latency to Azure is too high, AVD Hybrid lets users access that app from the same physical location as the service, while still benefiting from Azure Virtual Desktop management. Both are great reasons to look at AVD Hybrid, but make sure you stick around to the end of this video because there are some important limitations and considerations you'll want to understand before jumping in. So how does AVD Hybrid actually work? It's surprisingly straightforward. The computers used as session hosts are first onboarded to Azure Arc. That extends Azure management to those computers. Once Arc enabled, we can deploy extensions to them. There's a new extension called the Azure Virtual Desktop Cloud Device Extension. This is what registers a computer with Azure Virtual Desktop and adds it to a host pool as a session host. It functions similar to the AVD agent installed on session hosts that run directly in Azure. Once hybrid session hosts are registered with the AVD service, AVD connections are brokered the same way as native Azure session hosts. There's no special gateway, no additional web service, and no custom broker to deploy. And yes, RDP ShortPath works assuming your network supports it. AVD Hybrid works with pooled and personal host pools. Right now, this is still a preview feature. The host pool should be configured as a validation environment while it's in preview. And that's really it. As long as the prerequisites are met, the machine is added as a session host to the host pool you specify when deploying the cloud device extension. Now let's talk about those prerequisites, starting with operating system support. AVD for hybrid workloads support Windows enterprise clients, like Windows 11, running in a virtualized environment. Windows clients running on physical hardware is not supported, and that's really an Azure Arc limitation more than AVD one. Arc-enabled Windows clients are expected to behave more like servers. They're always on with consistent internet access. So this is definitely not about letting executives use AVD to connect to their laptops when they leave them in the office. Windows Server 2022 and 2025 are also supported, both physical and virtual. If you go the server route, the RDS session host role must be installed, and you'll need RDS CALs, so keep the licensing requirements in mind. The multi-session Windows Enterprise client is not supported outside of Azure, so that's out of scope for AVD Hybrid. If you need a multi-session OS, Windows Server is the only option with AVD for hybrid workloads. For identity, the machines need to be joined to a directory service. Active Directory and Microsoft Entra ID are both supported. Windows 11 running on Hyper-V will be used in the demo coming up, but any hypervisor works. No matter where it runs, the machine must have the Azure Arc agent installed. I've got other videos that cover Arc onboarding in detail, so be sure to check out the AVD Hybrid playlist for that. You'll also need all of the required IP addresses, URLs, and ports open to the internet for both Azure Arc and Azure Virtual Desktop. I've linked the official docs below. Make sure there are no restrictions, and if you're using SSL inspection, I recommend bypassing it for Arc and AVD endpoints. Deploying the Arc agent requires both local machine and Azure permissions. Those were covered in the previous videos, link below. To add the cloud device extension, the desktop virtualization contributor role on the host pool resource group is also required. This is required to create a registration token and add the session host to the host pool. In the demo coming up, I'm going to create a new host pool and add 2 Arc-enabled session hosts to it, and then verify we can log in. And again, stick around to the end for some important considerations with AVD Hybrid. Let's jump into the Azure portal to get started. Here we are in the Azure portal. Let's first verify the providers are available. Go to Subscription and then Settings and Resource Providers. Search for Microsoft.desktop.virtualization and verify it's registered. If it's not, select it and register. Do the same for Microsoft.hybrid compute. Register that if it's not already registered. Be sure both finish registering before moving on. Next, we'll create a host pool. If you have one already, you can skip and move to the next step. Mixing Azure and hybrid session hosts in the same pool is not advisable and probably not supported. We'll create a host pool, select the subscription and resource group, give the host pool a name, select the AVD metadata location, and if that region supports a deployment scope, select geographical or regional. Check out a video I did if you have any questions on that. Set it to a validation environment. We should do this on host pools while AVD Hybrid is in preview. This will be used for publishing desktops. Set the host pool type. This example will use pooled, but personal will work as well. We do not want to use session host configuration for a hybrid pool. Since this example is using a single user OS, I'll leave the load balancing algorithm set to breadth first and set the max session limit to 1. So this is a pooled host pool, but only one user will be able to log into each session host. You can use a max session limit above 1 if you're using the server OS as the session host. Optionally, I could have set this as a personal host pool. All right, let's go to session hosts, and we'll leave this set to no. We're going to add the session host later. Go to workspace and add it to a workspace. This example will create a workspace. Go to management and add diagnostic settings if you'd like. This example is going to skip that. Add tags as needed, and then go to Review and Create. Once validation passes, click Create. We'll give that a minute to finish. I'll pause here and come back once it's done. All right, that finished. We're going to move to PowerShell for the next steps. The upcoming configuration options use PowerShell. This is common for a public preview. Configuration options will likely change before it's generally available. We'll first create a host pool registration key. Then we'll use that to add the cloud device extension. And we'll start by updating the variables with information related to our environment. Add the host pool name and its resource group. Update the machine name. That's the Arc-enabled computer that we'll use as a session host. And finally, the region of the Arc-enabled machine. Not the host pool, the Arc-enabled machine, although they could be the same. We'll just grab that information from the portal and paste it in. For the machine name and the machine region, we can get that from 2 locations. If we go to the portal, from here go to Azure Arc, and under Infrastructure, we'll open Machines. This video assumes the computers used as session hosts are already Arc-enabled. If not, go back and check out a couple of my other videos that will show you how to do that. So these are the 2 virtual machines. We can also get there by going to Virtual Machines, and under Infrastructure, we can view our Arc machines right from here. I'll open one up. And now we have the name and the location. Once that's updated, highlight and run that block of code to add the variables to memory. Now that we have the variables added to memory, we can run the code that creates the registration token. This is used to join the Arc-enabled computers to the host pool as session hosts. We'll select and run that block of code. Now that we have the registration token, we can run the next block of code to add the cloud device extension. The first couple of lines set the parameter is cloud device to false and adds the registration token to the protected settings variable. After that, we'll run the new AZ connected machine extension command. All the parameters have been set using splatting. This includes the variables we previously set. Now, if we select and run the 2 blocks of code in step 2, that will add our Arc enabled computer as a session host. This will take a couple minutes to finish, and it will flash a status check while it's working. The video will pause here until it's done. All right, that finished, and I need to onboard the second computer, so I'm going to go up and change one of the variables. The machine name is now number 2, and I'll just highlight that and run it. That updates the variable in memory. I already have a registration token that's good for 24 hours, so I don't need to modify that. And the settings and protected settings have been set already. All I need is to run that last command. And again, this will take a couple minutes to finish, and I'll pause here and come back once it's done. All right, that finished. Let's go back to the portal and verify it's been added to the host pool. Start by going to Azure Arc or go to Virtual Machines and find the Arc enabled machine. Then go to Settings and Extensions. It shows the cloud device extension has been added. That's a good sign. We can check the other one as well. And it's also been added to that one. Next, we'll go to AVD and open the host pool. It may take a few minutes for the session host to show up as available. If you don't see it, give it a few minutes. Let's go to the session host. For this example, it's only showing the first one. Not enough time has passed to see the second one, but that should be available in just a few minutes. Now, notice if we select one of these, we're missing options like shut down and restart. That's not available because this is a hybrid session host. We're going to test logging in just a second, but first we have to add a user for access to the host pool. We'll go back to the host pool, then manage and application groups. Open the application group. We'll manage assignments. And we can add a user and group from here. I'm just going to add one user. I just need one for testing. We'll go back to the host pool. And now that second machine is showing as available. Great, now we have 2 hybrid session hosts available in this host pool. We'll log in to test it next. All right, here we are logged into the Windows app as the user we assigned to that host pool. You can see it showing our hybrid demo workspace. That's the workspace we created when we created the host pool. Now, if we log into the session host, and I don't have SSO configured for my on-prem domain yet. This is the first login, so it will take a minute or two. It would be faster if I was using FSLogix, but I skipped that for this example. I'll fast forward through this so we can get to the desktop. All right, now I'm logged into a hybrid session host. This is on a Hyper-V server that's sitting next to me in my office, connecting through AVD. Let's see which one we logged into. And I connected through AVD to the first session host we enabled. And that's how you onboard hybrid session hosts into an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool. Now, everything you just saw works, but there are a few things you really need to understand before committing to AVD Hybrid. One of the big strengths of Azure Virtual Desktop is how well it integrates with other Azure services. Things like Azure Compute Gallery, custom image templates, Azure networking, NAT gateways, firewalls, network security groups, and infrastructure as code using ARM and Bicep, for example. None of that comes with AVD Hybrid. Microsoft provides the connectivity through Azure Arc and the cloud device extension, but deploying, imaging, scaling, and managing the session hosts is entirely on you. Because of that, some third-party vendors are stepping in to fill the gap. Companies like Nerdio, Login VSI, and ControlUp are building solutions around AVD Hybrid. If you don't have strong processes, skills, or tooling for managing client deployments at scale on your hypervisor, a third-party solution may be the best option. There are also some AVD features that simply aren't supported. Since the Arc agent only operates at the guest OS level, features like autoscale, start VM on Connect, session host power management, and session host configuration don't work. The Arc agent doesn't have access to the hypervisor control plane, so it can't perform those actions. And finally, as of this recording, there's no published pricing information for AVD Hybrid. I don't expect it to be free, so keep an eye out for updates from Microsoft. Hopefully this gives you a clear picture of what Azure Virtual Desktop for hybrid workloads can and can't do. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.